You're listening to Drummer Daily, the only daily podcast dedicated just to drummers, for a free video series explaining how you can become rock solid at playing drums with a click track in just 2 weeks in as little as 20 minutes per day. Visit boomclick.net. All right, we are back again. Thank you for joining me, Drummer Daily. So today I thought, I try to combine different types of topics. I try to combine some motivational type things about drumming, some concepts and ideas, some strategies behind drumming. And then I also like to provide some practical tips for drumming as best as I can with an audio only podcast where I don't have a bunch of professional stuff set up to record. Though if you've watched any of my Instagram videos and you've heard them, you're like, that seems pretty professional. And you're right, I have no excuse for that. I should probably invest in maybe doing a few podcasts that are a little more professional. Or maybe I'll do like some YouTube videos or something. That would be kind of cool. Or on Facebook or something where I kind of do a little more in-depth, playing more instructional type videos. That could be kind of cool. Maybe I'll do that. All right. See, I have ideas while I'm talking to you in this podcast. It means a lot to me too. The podcast is valuable to me because I come up with ideas like that. So maybe I'll do that in the future. If you think it's a good idea, send me an email, daniel@danielhadaway.com. Let me know. All right, but that's not what we're talking about today. So today, I wanted to give you a practical tip, something you can use. And today I want to talk about, now this is something that may not apply to everyone, and you may not have the capability of doing this as much as you'd like, but I think a majority of those of you listening will be able to pull this off. So my tip today is this. I want you to, in whatever way you can, set up a way to record your drums. Now, best case scenario, you're playing along with a click track or something, and you're recording it into a recording program like Pro Tools or Logic or Ableton or what is it, Reaper. I think Reaper is free. I don't know much about it, but I just now discovered that it's free, I think, or really cheap. And there's, Studio One, I know, and a couple of other relatively inexpensive ones. Record into a program. It doesn't have to be a bunch of mics. It can be one single mic. It doesn't have to be, it can be multi-track, big, multi, pro style recording. You can do that too. But I want you to record. Now, I'd like for you to record along with a click track. And I'd like for you to record along to a click track that's being, generated by that program you're recording into. So I use a Logic for the Mac, but like GarageBand would work as well for this. And they have you can set the tempo inside that program. So I want you to set the tempo to whatever it is you want to play along with a click track. Let's say it's 76 beats per minute. Set the tempo in there and then start that click track up, start recording, and play for, let's say, 3 or 4 minutes. Doesn't have to be very long. But I want you to record yourself, and then I want you to listen back. Now that's step one to this practical tip, is just listen back to yourself playing. If you've never done this, it's very enlightening. There are so many times, and this is actually true of like the Instagram videos that I post. I will play something and record it, and I think, man, I was feeling good on that. I did great. And then I will watch or listen back, and I'm like, that was not great. Normally I think if I don't make any mistakes, I did pretty good, but really it's like the feel wasn't right. And I really have to, it's still a thing I have to try to do. It doesn't come naturally all the time for me still. So anyway, listening back just by itself can be really enlightening. But I want you to take it a step further. I actually want you to use your eyes to critique yourself. Now, a lot of times, if you're into recording, you're gonna be like, no, this is terrible. I will say, if you're using this for mixing, this is not a good idea for trying to adjust the sound of your drums. They always say, listen with your ears, not with your eyes, because your eyes can deceive you. But in this case, I want you to use your eyes. So I want you to look at the recording program where you just recorded your drums into it. And most recording programs are going to have a grid that's going to show you bar by bar, beat by beat, where you are in relation to the click track. And so you can look at that little spike in the waveform that shows up on your computer screen. Like when you hit a drum, you'll be able to see that's where I hit the kick. As you play along, you'll see and you'll hear it. That's where I hit the kick. That's where I hit the snare. If you have multi-tracks, it's really easy. But even on one single track, you can see this. They're called transients, the big spikes in the sound that you can see and hear. Look at those, zoom in as close as you can, and then look at that grid that represents where the click track was, and see how you're lining up with that click track. Are you coming in a little early? Are you showing up late? Are you right on? And then beyond that, take it even one step further. So then I want you to look and say, all right, is it my snare hand that's early every time? Or is it my kick foot? Is it always late? What pieces of my playing have a tendency to drift one way or the other? Is it my playing as a whole? And then I want you to kind of think about that. I want you to practice adjusting that and then record it again and do that over and over again. And even what's really cool is if you can stack those. So like you record one track of yourself playing, and then you mute that, and then you record again on a new track. And then you can kind of, over time, you'll see a stack of tracks that were you playing the same thing over and over again. And you can compare one to the other and maybe even zoom in and look and see, all right, oh yeah, I started adjusting my foot a little later there or a little earlier to make up for the mistake I was making or whatever it was. So I will just tell you that my eyes were open to all of this when I had a producer friend who started having me edit my own drums. So he'd say, hey, I want you to come to the studio today. We got some songs to record for this artist or that or this or whatever. And I would go over there and I would record, and he'd say, all right, we get the songs done. And he'd say, all right, now I'm going to send you these files and I want you to edit them. And at this time we were playing, a lot of the songs we did were with had drum machines and other electronic parts in it. And so everything was super perfect as far as timing goes. So I had to edit my drums to be perfect. Machine, robot-like perfection. And let me tell you how humbling that was, because this was back in the day. I sound like an old man again. They didn't have those things you can do now. I think now, like in Pro Tools and in Logic, you can click on a button basically and fix everything right there, and it sounds great and sounds perfect, like you played it perfectly. But we did not have that then, so I had to, by hand, literally zoom in and slice up every hi-hat hit, every snare hit, every kick drum hit. I had to go through and put a cut at the front and the end of every single one of those hits for an entire 4-minute song. Just think about how many hits that is. Quantize them all, fix them all, and then I had to go back and I had to create a crossfade. I had to fade between the edits for every single one of those hits again. So you can just imagine how tedious and long that was. And you can imagine how hard it was for me to know that I was the drummer on this, and this is how bad I played. Now I'm causing all this work for myself. Of course, it made me feel bad. It made me feel worse when someone else was editing the drums and I created all that work for them. Either way, it was so enlightening to have that experience. And so even to this day, after I track something for Instagram or whatever it is, I'll go back and I'll look and see how I did. Now, the great thing about what I do now is that a lot of times, a little behind the scenes secret about my Instagram videos, a lot of times I will not record the melodies and the music until after I do the drums. And so I can kind of play the music to fit the drums that I already tracked. So I can kind of, maybe through my own musicianship, my limited musicianship as a piano player and a guitar player or whatever it is, can kind of make it feel a little better than it would if I was with a band. So I can do that. I try not to edit the drums at all because I want you to hear what I played, warts and all. But anyway, if you've never edited your own drums or never looked at your drums going into a recording program, I would encourage you to do that, because that will give you so much enlightenment into what areas you can fix. All right, thanks for listening, and I will talk to you again tomorrow, hopefully. Bye for now.